Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at the Super Minipla for Leopardon from the Japanese Toei Spider-Man show. So real quick, if you're not familiar, back in the 70s, I want to say 78, Marvel and Toei had a partnership and they licensed out the use of some of their characters, chief among them being Spider-Man. Toei created a live-action Spider-Man show, which was very much kind of the inspiration for what would later become like tokusatsu as a whole genre, really. I would say a lot of Sentai owes itself to this Toei Spider-Man show, and it had a completely different backstory. It wasn't Peter Parker, it was a unique character, and the way he got his powers were completely different, and he also had a transforming robot named Leopardon. So that's what this is. I have wanted this for quite some time. Ever since I kind of first discovered the show, which I would say was probably about 2 or so years ago at this point, I was able to watch the show and I love it. I absolutely love it. And this robot is just such a huge part of it. Like I said, it's a transforming large robot that he pilots and uses it to fight the monster, very much like Sentai. And you can see here it has I guess we'll call it a vehicle mode called the Marveler. Before it transforms into Leopardon. It's super fun. So I'm so excited that they finally made a super Minipla of this robot. I'm going to go ahead, get everything out of the box, put it together, and then we're going to take a closer look. So here is Leopardon in his Marveler form, fully assembled. I think he looks great. I love the base they've included. You can see it has a little stand for this mode. It has a little spot for the sword and the shield, which looks really cool. And then once you transform him, if you want him to just stand on the base, you can do so and just take all the other pieces off. But I think this is really, really cool. The other really cool thing about it is underneath, they have storage for all of the extra accessory pieces, which we'll get to once we transform them. So that is fantastic. I absolutely love that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the base off of the stand because I find that this is a little bit easier to do. So if I can get this to actually unpeg. So you can see it's just a simple peg right there. And then this has a hinge to it so you can do a little bit of up and down movement, but nothing side to side. And that's pegged in on 2 spots to his thighs. And sometimes unpegging this can be a little challenging. There we go. Okay, so it's just 2 pegs like that pegged in right there and there. So I find it easier, instead of trying to yank him off by leaving this on the base, it's easier to take this off the base and then just pop this back on. But here's the shield, here's the sword. I think the sword looks great. Absolutely love that. So let's go ahead. First, we'll take a look at the Marveler. And I'll be honest, there's not too much to look at in this mode. It's kind of just the robot mode laying down with a few things switched around, but we'll get there. But you can see the leopard head. He's got these 2 tail fins back here. He doesn't really have any articulation in this mode. He just kind of flies around. And this is a nicely painted piece, which I think looks really, really good. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll get into the transformation. As you might expect, transformation is really not that difficult. You're going to come here to the back. You're going to flip up these tiny little flaps, and they're just going to rotate around. So again, there's a tiny little flap here, and it's not pegged into anything. You just have to rotate it around. So flip that around like that. Then you're going to push both of these down, and they just hide inside what will be the leg. You can break the leg apart. You're going to unhook this, and then this will just come around. You're going to have to pull the leg down ever so slightly, or I should say the foot, and then this will rotate around. Oh, I'm sorry. You have to, if you have the fists hidden in here, which you don't have to do, but I think it's a neat way to kind of store it. You have to take the fists out. I forgot they were in there. The one thing is, especially down here in the leg section, everything is pretty much just this black color. So sometimes it's hard to tell things are in certain places or moved around. But so now we will bring this down. that will kind of click into place, and then this will kind of come down and click into place as well over his thigh. So we're going to do the same thing over on this side. Unhook this, bring this down, and then bring this down to cover the thigh. And then you can see we pretty much have most of the robot mode. I'm going to flip this up. So we're going to split open the leopard head. Or apparently it's just going to come completely unpegged. Okay, I understand what I'm doing wrong. You have to lift this up first. I forgot. This pegs in. Then you can go ahead and split the leopard head. And it doesn't like split a lot. It's kind of weird the way that this works. There it goes. It's kind of a tight hinge. So you can see, and I apologize if the camera's a little off, you can now pull the head out. And then this is going to rotate around. And you kind of have to be careful because this yellow piece here has to rotate around inside. If it gets caught while you're rotating this all around, it'll get stuck. So as you rotate this down, make sure that all works out like that. Then you come back up and close this. Now if you want, you can peg it back in to the chest. I guess that would technically limit his waist articulation a little bit, but I'm just going to do it for stability, so I'm just going to leave that pegged in there. All right, and then we will do the two arm sections. Okay, now for the two arm pieces. Right here on what will become the shoulder pad, you can see there's a hinge right there. So you're going to unhook this, and that will flip open like so. This will rotate down. So you can see there's a hinge right there. That will rotate down. This black piece in the front will push in, like so. This will come all the way up and over and fill in there. Then you will close this, peg that back in, and then rotate the whole arm down 180. At this point, you're going to take one of the fists that we took out earlier and peg that into the bottom. So once again, we unpeg this, push that black piece down, rotate this hand piece down like so. This whole piece rotates up. This pegs back in, and then rotate this down. And then peg in your fist. And there you have it. We have a fully transformed Leopardon. Now I will say one thing. The instructions tell you to switch out this chest plate. And there's another chest plate that they include that you had to put a sticker on. And I really don't see the difference. I don't know why I would bother going to the trouble of doing that. I mean, this one was painted and this one has a sticker, so to me they look absolutely identical. So if you want to switch them out, it's there. I'm not going to bother. Although getting this pegged back on here is kind of a pain in the butt. You can see it's got these two little tabs, and then there's these two tab spots right here. So I just have to line it back up. And it never works out. Maybe there? There we go. Okay. So we'll try that out. But yeah, he looks great. I love him. Oh, I forgot to show you. If you open this, and I can show this off again later, but there's a super tiny little GP7 spider machine. Oops, as I drop it. And that's pretty much fully painted. The only piece, this little yellow spoiler, you peg in on the back, but everything else is pretty fully painted. So I think that's really cool that they included the little GP7. So when he's in Leopardon form, he is in this and it flies through the air and then it opens up and he comes in and docks, and then you just put this piece back over top, and that's how he enters the cockpit so that he can start controlling the robot. So that's pretty awesome. I love that little attention to detail. Alright, but now let's check out some of the things the robot can do. Alright, so first off we'll talk articulation. Head's on a ball joint, so you got side to side, up and down, full range of motion there. You have a swivel here in the shoulder, as well as an out to the side. You have a bicep swivel. Now you have to be a little careful with the arms because of the way they transform, but you do have a full swivel there. You have, I guess, pretty much 90 degrees in the elbow, and then of course you can rotate the wrist as much as you want because that's just a peg. Like I said, you do have kind of a ball joint here, but you would have to unpeg this to get the full range of motion. You know, the waist can turn side to side. You have kind of a ball joint there in the waist. I kind of just like to leave it pegged in though. You do have kick to the front, kick to the side. You do have a swivel there. That is, the whole leg just kind of pegs into the bottom there, so you can definitely do the thigh swivel. Kick out to the side, nice forward kick there. I don't really think he has much kick back. You do have 90 degrees in the knee, and then you have a ball joint and a swivel in the ankle. So tons of good posability there. He looks really great. The only thing is the way that these are supposed to, I think they're supposed to peg in like that, but they constantly kind of pop out. It's not a huge problem because you can just push it back in. But the head is fully painted. None of that is stickers. And I think they did a fantastic job with that. Really, really nice. The only stickers, these little black pieces here on the side. So that's 6 tiny stickers. This little bit of red here is a sticker. I don't think there was any stickers here on the head of the leopard. Yeah, there really weren't many stickers. I think there were like 4 or 5 total for the whole set. So I can totally get behind that. I hate stickers, so I love when there's less. But yeah, he looks really cool. He's got a ton of accessories here, so let's start checking these out. Now, of course, he's got the Sword of Vigor. You can actually unpeg this, and you can peg it in here on the side, because on the show, that's kind of where he grabs it from. So you can go ahead and peg that in there so it looks like he's grabbing for it, which I think is pretty cool, and then he pulls the whole sword out. If you want to put it in his hand, obviously you just thread in one side like so, and then peg it back in over here, just like that. And then you have the shield, which you just drop in. So now he's got his sword and shield, and that looks great. Really nicely done, and again, that's all painted the red there, so that is fantastic. I mean, luckily for them, it was kind of a basic design sword, but I think it totally works. And I love the shield. The shield is so ridiculous, but I love it. And I just love the little attention to detail that you can peg it in there, like, because that's where he like pulls it out of when he's fighting. We've also got a ton of cool like effect pieces. So if you're familiar with the show, he usually throws the sword. So what you can do, they have this effect piece here, and how this works, there should be, here we go, there's a tiny little, and this is going to be super small, but there's a tiny little indentation here on the side, and you peg that in here, like that, and then this pegs in, you have to actually switch hands. He actually has a different hand. So he's got 2 fist hands, and then he's got 2 of these like open hands. And you can see these have some peg spots in there. So you're going to take this and peg this in here. And I guess I should turn this because it should be like that. And then we'll put his hand back in. And then it looks like he's throwing the sword. That's really cool. It's such a simple effect piece, but it works. I think that's so neat. Probably look even better from this side. So it looks like he's throwing the sword out there. I think that's so fun. It's such a slight little thing, but it really works. Alright, so we'll take that back off. Alright, he also has, and I'm going to go ahead and take the shield out of here, and we'll come back to his other fist hand. In the show, he would fire his fists sometimes. So you have these pieces here that you peg this into, and then peg this in here. And then that looks like he's firing the fist. And you have one of these for each, so you can do them both at the same time if you like. So he's firing his punches. That's really, really cool. And for some reason, I have a hard time with this connection here. You have to really push it in there to get it to stick, and then it wants to pop out all the time. But I mean, luckily you just peg it right back in. It's not that big of a deal, but if yours also pops out all the time, you're not alone. Some of these connections are kind of tight too. Just want to be careful you don't break any pegs off anywhere. Alright, so put the hands back in here like this. In the show, he would also fire his head crest. So you can unpeg that. Just have to be a little careful with it. Come on, there we go. So unpeg that, and then you have an effect piece to pop this in here like this. I'm pretty sure this goes like this. Yeah, here we go. And then you can peg this into his head, so it looks like he's shooting the crest out. I think that's pretty, or you can just kind of line it up like this and then it looks like nothing's happening. But no, so that's pretty cool. So you can make it look like he's firing the crest. And then there's one more tiny effect piece. And I'm not going to transform him back into Marveler mode, but you'll just have to imagine. So if you're like this, if he was in Marveler mode, and you wanted to open this up, and you have the little GP7, they have this effect piece where you can, I think this pegs in like this, and then this pegs in, no, I think I have this backwards. I do. This goes like this, so that it looks like he has little effect pieces making him fly, and then this pegs in here like this. So it looks like the GP7 is getting ready to fly into the back. Isn't that awesome? That's just, it's again, it's such a minor little thing, but it makes it look so great. I love it. So if you want to display this in Marveler mode, you could use that effect piece to make it look like the GP7 is getting ready to fly in and he's about ready to transform. I'm going to pop that back in there. I like to keep it in there so I don't lose it because it's so tiny. Do I have this upside down? I probably do. There we go. So I think that's it for his extra effect pieces. I showed you the hands. Yeah, that should be it for everything. But I love it. I think they did such a great job with this. This is something I've wanted for a while. It's kind of funny, like, I found the show. I mean, I always kind of knew of its existence, but I found a way to watch the show probably like a year and a half to 2 years ago. And I watched it and I loved it. It's so ridiculous, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. And then all of a sudden it got popular again, and you know, they're selling like fleece blankets at FYE and mugs, and Disney's kind of coming around to acknowledging its presence. It might get into Spider-Verse 2. It was in some comics recently. There was like a multiverse comic that he was featured in. So I just love it. I love all the love that Toei Spider-Man and Leopardon are getting. And I knew they made a toy of this way back in the day, which would be very expensive. And I knew they made a Soul of Shogoken as well, which again, pretty pricey. And I was like, you know what would be really great? A super Minipla of Leopardon. I'm sure they do a great job with it. It would be pretty affordable, and it would be a great way to get a representation of it. And I just kind of willed it into being, and here it is. And I'm super excited, and I'm just really happy this exists. It was a fun build. It really wasn't too bad. It probably took me, all told, like just while I was like watching TV and whatnot, maybe 4 hours. I know that seems like a lot, but again, it's just me being very casual. If you really wanted to like focus and get this done, you could probably do it in like 2 hours or so. You know, if you were like speed building or something like that. But when I do a model kit, I just kind of like to, you know, throw on something on TV, relax, and just kind of, you know, build to relieve stress, and it always works out. So I love this guy. I absolutely love him. I'm so glad this exists. I think he's still around if you're trying to find him. I don't think he should be too hard to track down. But if you're a fan of the Toei Spider-Man at all, like I am, you're definitely going to want to pick this guy up. The articulation's great. The transformation's great. I mean, yes, it's simplistic, but it's exactly how it was on the show, so they're 100% faithful and accurate. So it's all great. The accessories are fantastic. All those little effect pieces, I've just been blown away. They're so simple, yet they achieve such a perfect like effect that it's so well done. I love the little stand you get. And like I was saying earlier, if you wanted to, you can just take these all off and just have him stand on this. Now, the only thing I will say is the stand itself is kind of basic. I would have loved if they would have just printed either, Leopardon or Spider-Man in katakana or something like that. Would have been fantastic. I understand why they didn't, but just kind of displaying him like on top of this in robot mode is not really that exciting. It's just him standing on a block, so I feel like I don't really need that. But it's perfect for the Marveler mode. The stand they give you for the Marveler mode is wonderful. You can store everything underneath. So I love the stand. I just feel like it's way more practical and looks better in the Marveler mode. If you're going to display him in the robot mode, just use it to store everything and then just kind of place it off to the side. But like I said, would have loved if they just, printed something on the side just to make the base stand out a little bit more. But that's a super minor complaint. That's like the only thing I can think of. Also, I still don't really know why there's 2 chest pieces. I mean, hey, I guess great to have a spare, but I don't know why I need 2 or why I would switch them out. When this just looked like I'll leave the painted one on. It looks perfect. So, I don't know. He looks great. I love him. Absolutely recommend him. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks so much for watching.